Doing this?
Buenos días, señores y señores. Bienvenido a El Best of Our Week, el podcast con señor Juan Carlos Bagnell y tu señor. Yeah, I don't know how to continue from there, actually.
Muy bien.
As far as I don't know how to introduce myself. Like I say with, and then I don't like con yo soy señor Tique. Hey,
I
¿cómo
mean,
estás?
you were on track for like a proper sábado gigante.
Hey,
That
caliente, caliente, muy bueno.
was going to be great. It's
I
like,
was gonna say
wow.
telenovela all the way. Yeah, I was like, that's the best that I could do.
Well, I think you did very well. Welcome to another Thursday night stream of the best of our week. I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy. As always, joined by the lovely and talented Mr. TK Bay.
Yes,
And
very lovely. Very lovely.
This has been I would say so, very lovely. I very much enjoy our time together.
Stop it.
No, it's this has been I'm gonna sound really scattered and kind of fried because this has been a week, and it was a week full of good stuff that all hit at the same time. So even though it was all good, I was running around like crazy trying to keep everything flowing, everything up in the air. But I feel like I've mostly made it through with only minor scarring. So it was a very good week. And you had a phenomenal week from our tease on the last episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I think quite a few folks that have been following us probably already know what you've been up to. Around town.
They came over and they hung out with me on Saturday. We were in the dream of a car, of tech, of I don't know how to explain it. It's like having two of your favorite things mushed together and they work really well. It's not like, a half-baked process kind of thing. When tech meets car, TK's right there. And I feel like I should have done this so long ago, but
no,
it was also
this is the right time.
It was the right time. I don't know.
You were due. I mean, I feel like you definitely owed something nice to yourself and to your family. So maybe it could have happened sooner. But the fact that it happened when it did is also kind of the sweet part of this as a best of our week story.
It was seriously like it's going to be hard to top this one for a while for me, at least. It's going to be like, so what are you doing, TK? What are you doing?
It's the problem we run into as tech reviewers is like we get to unwrap the new shiny on the regular, so we get that like that thrill, the unboxing thrill, the honeymoon phase. This is that one where it's like you've got to be straight up. You've got to let this one ride and just enjoy it for what it is, because our natural tendency will be to like look a month into the future and be like, oh, but what else is coming? And that's not going to work.
No. There's no month. Yeah. I have, not only did I make a commitment onto this, I made quite a few years worth of commitments on this.
Well, but then also, I mean, I feel like what you're in store for when you pick up something like a Tesla. Now, I can't speak to this firsthand, but the conversations I've had with my mom.
I was going to say,
now all about that Tesla lifestyle is you it's not so much that you get so lit up, like when Tesla announces a new vehicle or there's going to be a Cybertruck. It's how often you're getting new software features when the new update rolls out, when like new features are added and you get to like, I mean, it was the look of glee in my mom's eye when we put in Lex's car seat for the first time, and she turned on the locational fart indicators so that my 4-year-old daughter
killing it with this. Yeah.
So at the time Lex was 4, and you just heard this little 4-year-old cackling in the back seat as every time she would like flip the turn indicator would like rip a fart like right under grandpa's chair, or let's make it sound like daddy tooted, and she was just dying. So from that day on, I feel like my mom like was really invested in the Tesla software update lifestyle.
I got, so the approach to this was I honestly thought it was going to take forever to come in, because there was just like everybody talks about it. From order to delivery, it was less than a month, which was crazy for but the wait was killing me. Think I don't know how to explain it. Like it's like waiting for a phone to come out that you really, really want it to come out, but then
Only it's like
it's an
uh
estimate. Like, yeah, it could come out
yeah.
next week, it could come out 2 weeks, and every few days the estimate goes from a specific time frame to weeks, and then some of them months. It'll say basically 1 to 2 months, and then at one point it said 4 to 16 weeks from order date. I'm like, what do you mean 16 weeks? I'm like, at that point there's a new Tesla or something. So
Right.
it worked out perfectly. Delivery was like, oh, here's another thing. I actually had my car delivered. It was like a la Amazon of all experiences of ordering cars.
Mm.
They delivered the car. They buffed it up, whatever. They left it and they just parked it in front of the house. I went in, activated, and got in. But you know what? I have to say, I have to give Tesla this much credit. The process of purchasing a car through Tesla is so much nicer than
Yeah.
any kind of experience you could deal with at a dealership. The whole haggle and sitting down with the finance person, whatever. It's simple. There's 3 trims. There's not much. It's literally you pick one of the 3 trims, you know what you're getting into, and these are the options you can add onto it, and that's it.
And
And
also you're not worried like, is this like a dealer pricing? Is
mhm,
is the price going to swing on this? I know that the new car for next year is going to be out in the summer, so then
yep,
prices are going to drop on the last year model. The last time we bought a new car and we left the Nissan dealership, like
yeah,
Marie and I were not happy because like we had to get to a point where we were like, I'm walking out the door. You're not giving us the deal I want. You're not
yep.
giving us the financing I want, and we're out of here. And it took like that big show of the manager running over. Well, let me see what I can do and let me crunch
Oh
some
man,
numbers.
the
And you're like,
song
you know
and
what? This
dance,
is
the song. Yeah, you're like, I don't
I
want to do this.
I really feel like I don't want to give you any of my business, but it's also like 9 o'clock at night now, and our
Yeah,
daughter is asleep in a stroller. So if you can give us this, I'll sign a piece of paper. If you can't, I'm out the door. And I shouldn't have even have done that. Like, but that's
it,
what it took to get to uh like a conclusion to the evening.
absolutely. No, I that that part I do not wish that on anybody. Like buying a car is literally one of the most tedious things. And obviously, I understand
Yeah.
this is part of the experience, but after doing it for so many times, that refreshing experience with Tesla, it was so nice. Um, Surprising though, from the time I ordered to the time I picked up, the price of the car went up by 1,000, which was
Hey.
interesting. Yeah. So and they honored obviously when I put in my original order. So it was
I
like I'm
I'm
like
not
that is
surprised
cool.
though. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, no, it was good timing on your part, but I'm not surprised in that you're basically driving like a super fancy computer and
Hmm.
everything we've been hearing. I would have to imagine that Teslas are built and sold in such small quantities that minor fluctuations in component pricing probably has
Much higher
a
impact. Yeah.
yeah, it reflects in the car's actual price much more aggressively than when we're talking about like a Ford.
Oh,
You know?
absolutely, absolutely.
The
And
fleet
and
of vehicles that they make is probably
uh,
balancing out or averaging out price fluctuation.
and what I also love about the fact is that my car was made in Northern California. It's made out of Fremont, so it was delivered from Fremont down to Southern California,
Nice.
as short of a delivery assembly and everything. So, anyways, short answer. Oh, Josh is in. Josh sounds like hashtag
Hey,
cries in the Corolla.
that's all
Uh,
right, buddy. I'm in a Nissan. You're in a Toyota. We can't have these fancy cars like
all I
TK.
have to say is, hopefully someday when we're all like all good and everything, we'll figure out something like that. We gotta and we're able to get back into one vehicle altogether at some point. We'll have to definitely do some type of like a podcast road trip or something like that. Or
Oh yeah.
definitely, I'm very much excited about that. So yeah, that was a big part. Um, but dude, you got like a massive video dropping this morning. The super exclusive. Nobody else was reviewing this product this morning. I don't know. I was very I mean,
Are we gonna bring that back?
I don't know. I feel like it's still technically the same day as like,
Okay, so here's the deal.
so how
You know
did you
what?
get that
I'm
exclusive?
gonna
That's my
I,
first thing. How did you get the exclusive?
no, I'm gonna spoil this for folks watching this stream. I have this idea for an April Fool's video.
Yeah.
I really want to do it. It's a little twisted. It's a little horror. It's one of my all-time favorite comic book oddities.
Okay.
It's this comic that it's a short story in one of those old, like before the comics codes. You would have those
Hmm.
anthologies. Like the original Spider-Man was an Amazing Stories. Was it
Yeah.
Amazing Stories? I think it
Amazing
was Amazing
Spider-Man.
Stories.
Back in
No,
the.
no, no. But it was Amazing Stories, and it was like
Okay.
a comic that had like 4 or 5 different stories in there, and one of them is a story of this kid who
Spider.
gets bitten by a radioactive spider. It wasn't a superhero comic.
Oh. Okay.
Um, so there's all of these historical examples of these different comic characters that are one-offs, but this one that I just like I'm fascinated by is this terribly told story about someone who's investigating like ritualistic killings, and there's no credit on it. Like we really don't know where this character came from. It,
Hmm.
it, it was published, in the 30s, but we don't know. So I wanted to do this whole like like true crime style expose, weird oddities of the internet. Like, well, for episode 17 of Weird Comics in History, I want to show you this character. So at some point I'm going to do this, and I'm going to
Okay.
really try and make it look as legit as I
As
flippin' can. But I just couldn't get it together to pull it off this year. So instead, I totally admitted defeat this morning, where I was like, "Hey guys, I don't have an April Fool's joke. Here's the one I made 4 years ago,
to
where I
go.
reviewed a yam,
Yeah.
and it's a 17-minute review of a yam. And if you really think you can hang, that's great. But most people tap out before it even really gets to the good stuff, because I do a full bend test. I scratch it with picks. It scratches immediately at a 1 on the Mohs
Yeah.
hardness
No.
scale.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's not gonna make it. Yeah. Definitely.
Did like an internal teardown just to see what the internal structure was like, if there's any wasted space in there. Like I mean, it's the exact smartphone review script, but applied to a yam.
It brought to yeah.
Um,
A
so
long time ago, I did something on an app that was made as a joke. It was called a bug squishing app. I did it for XDA. I posted it on their channel, but it was one of our guys over there, Adam Outler, back in the day, one of the
mhm.
other YouTube hosts on the shows. So he developed this app, and all you did literally, you just open the app and you squish the bug. And I literally made a 5-minute review of that of that app entirely, of how quickly it loads, how fast, how easy it is. It doesn't take that much RAM. The graphics are, they're getting improved. There's going to be an OTA later, and and I totally did it with a straight face, and quite a few people didn't realize what day it was. I think because probably they also saw it later. So it's all in fun, but it's also nice to see you have fun with it. I think that's the big part of it, right? Uh,
Yeah,
is just a it's a humorous day, and everybody I feel like this year more so than last year is able to kind of a little bit participate more
for
so,
sure.
as in times are a little bit hopefully better.
And then also, I'm going to share this with Josh, because Josh is saying USPS April fooled me. They said my package was coming today. It didn't. So I just looked up, DHL last week
Mhm.
sent me a notification, excuse me,
Yeah.
that something was supposed to be delivered last week, and then it was supposed to be delivered today,
Oh,
and it was in Southern California, and then it was redirected back up to San Francisco,
oh,
and
I'm checking the
today,
door. Mhm.
just today, it has been it has been diverted to Dayton, Ohio.
Oh,
So
it's yeah,
now
yeah, that
the
makes
the
sense.
the package that was supposed to be here last week is in Ohio, and they tell me it's going to be delivered sometime next week. So I'm with you there, Josh. Today was the right day for packages being a part
So
of the April Fool's festivities.
I'll do one better, USPS style. On November 27th, 2020, I mailed a package. November 27th, 2020. Just stay with me. I mailed a package,
November
which
27th,
was
27th.
yeah. I mailed a hat, one of my hats, one of the ones I dropped off to your place. I mailed it over to SAF in the UK. I decided to use USPS. The package delivered this morning in,
April Fools.
on April 1st. Yeah. I mean, could you have taken any? I mean, was it? Did somebody swim it across? I think somebody swam it across. So what happened is USPS decided to be very efficient. See, where your package was going up and down California and then going to Dayton, Mine went to Chicago and went to Canada and back to Chicago, back to Canada, back to Chicago 7 times. And by the time I was able to call them and find out, like, why you keep sending my package going to the UK to Canada? They said somebody mistyped the letters when they were putting it in. So they made a correction. That was 2 months ago to the label because it's an auto scan thing. So they're all automated, right? They're not, nobody's actually touching this. They're scanning and it goes. So they submitted the fix 2 months ago, but the fix didn't work till a week ago. Where it went from Canada to Queens, New York, and then from Queens, New York back to Canada, and from Canada to the UK. So whatever USPS is doing, it's like, but yes, 4 months.
Hey, whatever they're doing, it's working. I mean, it got there. I don't see. I mean, could you have walked to the UK?
I think I could have walked there and back. I could have gone over to Matt's house, said hi, had brunch, dropped over Safs, dropped off the hat, and came home. Yeah, like it's one of those. So, anyways, just dropping off hats. But yeah, November 27. That, and I was trying to make it before the the big Christmas rush. I'm like, oh, let me see if I'll totally do it.
Thanksgiving is not enough time. It's going to take a couple weeks to get there. It's going to be great.
So we all have our horror stories when, but DHL's done that before, by the way, for me with a package. It got to the LA, it crossed, customs through LA, and then it went all the way to Michigan for some reason.
Yeah.
And then it came back all the way. So
it's got to be that they've got some of their main distribution hubs in that Midwest. Because there was an issue with the address. So from the original shipper, and like, I thought I caught it. And they're like, hey, this is where it needs to really go. Yeah, and I was on the phone with the DHL person. I was online with the DHL person, but still, it's hilarious that even after correcting for that, they're like, hey, it's going to be there the 29th. Okay, it'll be there on the 1st. Okay, it's going to Ohio.
It needed to get a little bit cool, so we're gonna give it the tour and then we'll bring it back. So so
apparently changing the label like that means they cannot process it properly unless it goes through one of those main hubs or something. So
we have to realize most of their systems are automated, and if they don't catch it like right in time where they're able to put a new label on it,
system I just caught Josh's other comment. Don't you hate it when your carbon footprint suddenly gets worse and you did nothing?
Exactly. All we asked for one pack.
I have a healthy amount of liberal guilt on this one package. Just for, I don't know what I'm gonna have to do for my carbon offsets just to make it right with the universe on this one.
Oh man, you're gonna have to probably walk to work actually you can walk to work. You're at work every day. And
hopefully soon, like maybe we'll be able to like walk Lex to school, or you know what, maybe I just need to spend like a month doing nothing but reviewing like solar panels or something like that.
Exactly. Actually I debated that quite a bit. Going Tesla and then starting to have to charge. I felt like solar wall, actually what they call it, or something like that. But yeah, so the yam was a big part of your week. The Snapdragon sound was obviously
the yam was the cop out. The yam was Juan couldn't pull it together. So, like I said, this was an incredible week. I'm
glad you explained the sweet potato situation. But yeah, anyways,
I had to, because again, I feel like not everyone realizes that in the sort of classification that is something a yam or is it a sweet potato. I feel like that deserves some scrutiny, because there was a lot of confusion as to what was what, and that some things are like some yams are sweet potatoes and vice versa, but not all. So anyway,
we could drive that to there. Like that's how I was like at the end of it right there.
It was a lot of like how much video editing can one physically get done in the course of a day. And I put up, I was literally minutes before deadline on reviews.org today. Like I got one of our first videos out talking about satellite internet, looking at another one of those compatriot companies. We were going to start talking about Starlink. On reviews.org, because they're going to be going up in beta. And then obviously the biggie was finally getting that interview out the door for Snapdragon Sound. And I had a really good time putting that together. But I've also got to work with them on their social team, because they want to do a bunch of little like cut downs, like little 30 to 60 second snippets, so they can put them out on the socials. So I'm still working on that. And then I also was hosting an event with Asus and Intel.
Nice.
And I know there's a lot of drama surrounding, the Intel 11th gen launch. I think it's kind of sad because I feel like there's so much nerd angst about
Mhm,
the upper high end of Intel's product portfolio right now that we're missing some really good stuff
mhm.
in like the more medium tier, where if you were building a PC right now, there are a couple parts that are a lot more price competitive and are really interesting if you just wanted to make like a gaming focused build for a PC. But we're really lit up and amped up about the 11900K. But I got to
Well,
host that, and
yeah.
so again, I'm working with like world's largest component motherboard manufacturer and like spokesman for Intel. I'm just like, hey guys, so tell me about these new cores. Because like in the back of my brain, I'm also thinking about Bluetooth codecs, and I also have to write a script for Starlink. You're just like, I'm really tap dancing this week, and
I
I'm just so glad that most everything stuck the way that I thought it was going to.
I honestly, man, I feel for you, but I mean, it gets like that. It gets like that. I've had a few of those weeks, and
It's
my
just like it always seems to be the way. The original Snapdragon sound
Mhm.
concept that we were playing with was supposed to go out 2 weeks ago. The
Oh, that's right.
timing
Yeah, yeah.
was going to be perfect
Mhm.
because it was going to be shortly after the actual like public press release went out for Snapdragon sound and all the articles were coming out. And
Yep.
we just wanted to work on the concept, and it's so much better than what we were originally going to put out. So I'm really glad that we waited. I'm really glad that we ended up with a better video. But it was going to be that, and then the Intel launch was going to be the week after. Both of those got bumped and ended up in the same week.
In the
Like,
same
it looks really cool because like my face is on
every
Newegg banners, is on Intel banners, is on Qualcomm social media, is on Asus social media. I'm like, I'm looking real good right now, but I
exactly.
really wish we could have spread this out a bit.
I like this. I like it. I love it. And you're like, I wish it was a little bit. Just give me a couple of days. It doesn't.
just
You don't have
a
to be on
day.
top of each other. Yeah, just give me a breather. I'd like to be able to make it through the end of the week without feeling like I just finished a marathon. But
But we
I
finished. We
yeah,
we, we
no,
did cross the
you
finish
you
line.
crossed the finish line in it. Congratulations on again. Like I said, the
Thank you
the
very
Snapdragon
much.
Sound interview was
I'm really proud of how that came
that
out.
was I
That was
was
fun.
yeah, very very nice, very very chill. And I love the Q&A section, where you're going in and answering questions and throwing some of them. I actually I have a feeling I know some of the people asking the questions but it was fun. So if you guys haven't had to check, hey, El Jefe's in the chat, man.
Hey,
How you doing, Jeff?
Jeff.
So oh, and then if you haven't seen the, please catch it. Of course, I loved it very much. I'm trying to share it and make sure people catch that, especially work. I feel like that a lot of people don't really focus on, and the reality is, if you love your ears, you need to kind of pay attention to that. And I'm hoping we start seeing some devices with with the new Snapdragon Sound technology soon, like sooner or later. We need to start seeing them. We
So,
also
so
obviously, sorry.
it's an interesting part of the conversation for me because I think if you've been following a lot of my commentary,
Hmm.
um, I think it's pretty clear how I feel about audio products. Some of my concerns for hearing loss and for
Yeah,
hearing health, and then also
exactly.
just the fact that I'm a cable snob. I'm genuinely like old school. I come from a recording background. There is so much cool that's happening in the world of wireless tech, but I feel like there's a part of this conversation where cables still matter.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
There's one part of the conversation on convenience for not being tethered,
Hmm.
and then there's another part of that convenience conversation for not having to charge a battery. So I feel like the media and the sort of tech sphere has kind of pushed us into a consumer conversation thanks to companies like Apple and Samsung copying them, that we just have to cut cables because we don't really have any options.
Yeah.
But getting to actually kind of peek behind the curtain a little bit and speak more frankly with some of the Qualcomm engineering team. I mean, the
Hmm.
marketing, the PR people, like we've had relationships with those folks for years. I totally get what
Exactly.
they're trying to do. We're talking socials, we're talking metrics. I get all that. But it was like the conversations I got to have behind the scenes with the engineers. I was like, oh, okay, I really need to know what the heck.
Yeah.
And they would have answers. And you're like, oh, that's so good. Um, the thing that is a major takeaway from that kind of a conversation is as much as I am going to be the cable snob,
Mhm.
our wireless products don't get better if we don't contribute. You know,
Yep.
like
Yeah, yeah.
where we were 5 years ago to where we are today is a completely different landscape for
Of
Bluetooth audio.
course.
And if the manufacturers don't hear from people that really care about this stuff, or they get written off because it's not good enough, or, oh, I'll wait until Gen 3. Oh, I'll wait until Gen 4.
Mhm.
Then we don't really get the gear that we would want to use. We get the gear that sells.
Yep.
If we only get the gear that sells, then we're going to be in for, you know, some pretty mediocre stuff because our input was not considered while they were refining the products that we currently have. And so there
Exactly.
there are some things that I think are really interesting. And then also it was a way to also, you know, kind of talk up things like Qualcomm acoustic.
Mhm.
You know, they still have amps and DACs that we can kind of use. You know, if manufacturers want to license them, like, we would still have really good headphone jacks that are properly driven and have decent little amps on them. So the tech is there.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not someone chooses to employ it.
No, no, so definitely, and I think I would say probably my favorite part was what when that bit was like, well, I guess wireless headphones are great for when you want to be in the kitchen dancing when you're by yourself. I remember that one side, like she was like, when I'm
Right.
dancing to my music, I don't want any wires. I'm like, I know, I totally get it. I understand, and I find it, right now a nice pair of headphones, an actual wide pair of headphones, connected directly to some type of an audio processing, a DAC, or either, or even if your
Mhm.
device supports it, still I feel like is like light years ahead in audio quality and just performance of the audio that you're able to get to, especially if you're able to push higher above just regular streaming content. So my hope is that with Snapdragon Sound and Qualcomm, we are able to basically start pushing aptX and all the
Yeah.
the codecs that are able to drive our hardware a little bit better and try to actually give us better sound. Sony's been doing great. I feel like Sony, if anything, of any companies have used, I think was it HLVC, the codec that they use. They use a different codec than aptX for their
For Sony?
yeah, for their
Oh,
headphones.
LDAC.
LDAC, sorry, not
Yeah, yeah,
HLVC.
yeah.
I don't like when yeah. Uh,
Yeah, actually, but it was kind of cool. Sarah was very frank. It was going to be a part of the original cut of the video, but it was just really long. I
okay.
mean, again, it was like, from Qualcomm's perspective, they're learning a lot from companies like Sony.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, LDAC versus, aptX. It's like, we're all trying to achieve improvements here because we need them. So
We
she was actually very frank. Like, there are some things that I think that are happening here in terms of audio fidelity, but we're doing these things over here in terms of latency, and then they're doing this with this kind of a technology, but then we're trying to adapt, so, like, as conditions change, your audio quality doesn't just plummet. And you're
yeah.
like, that was really frank. I mean, like, again,
No,
it's
no.
like, if I'd had the time in this video would have been like an hour long, just with some of that stuff. I might need to see if I can cut together, like, just an audio only version and just
Yeah,
put that
I think
out
that
as
may
like a
be.
standalone podcast.
I think it would be beneficial because, like I said, things like that, those are the conversations that people would appreciate. Like, I'm sure Jeff would definitely appreciate that as well. It just That's one of the things I love about the Sony headphones, like why you love them as a wireless pair of headphones. Uh,
Hmm.
it's just the audio codec is so good. Like, you're actually able to enjoy it, and the tuning on it that you're able to do within the app. But I still feel like there is still some improvements to do to be able to match to
Yeah.
like a pair of headphones like this to be able to enjoy that. But then again, speaking of which, I mean, since we just mentioned Sony dropped like a massive teaser today for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, out of the blue, April 1st, I was actually tempted to actually honestly feel like
I wanted to write to our Sony PR
I want to say, are
and
you?
be like, is this an April Fool's? Are you really gonna get something out the door? What's going on?
Because I saw so many things online today. Like, seriously, of all the things, this would have been the one. Like, I really want this to be true. I really want this to be true. I really want this to be true. So, uh, hopefully, but it sounds like it's not that long before we all find out what the next Xperia is going to be. If Jermaine's video, I don't know if you got a chance to check out his concept that he did
Oh,
for
I
the.
didn't, but I mean, like, I saw, it was like a GIF of just some of the render on it.
Yeah, yeah, crazy work. Jermaine is just crazy good with
Looks
his
good.
concept.
Again, I
There,
mean, like, I feel like he's pretty spot on this one, because I'm really
uh,
hoping Sony sticks to a simple and
mhm.
consistent. obelisk kind of aesthetic here, because
just go with this design. That's what I would say.
you just
go
gotta flash that.
just
Want
go
that
go
so bad.
go hold on. Oh, where is? Oh yeah, right there. Just go.
So here's the deal. What we need to
Can I do
see
this?
is
No, I can't.
is
Too thin.
we need to see that thermal hardware from the Pro make it
Yeah.
in to the Xperia One Mark III.
Mhm.
I especially not playing with the One Plus.
Yeah.
We should also put, in terms of Samsung Galaxy Watch, I finally got your Galaxy back in the mail, so that it should be back to you.
Please tell me you did not
soon.
send it USPS on April Fools.
Well, I'm
For the love of Jesucristo.
but it's like, for them, it should be just delivering down the street. So hopefully it does show up tomorrow, and I've got the tracking number and it's insured. So here's the deal.
I'm just
After
messing.
playing with the One Plus, we've sent a few things USPS to us.
Oh no, no, you're totally right.
Now we're tempting fate. Now if there was going to be a problem,
if there was to be a problem, we just made it. Yeah, go ahead. Speaking of OnePlus,
well, I was going to say, after playing with the Galaxy and now playing with the One Plus, I'm feeling better about the Snapdragon 888. Okay. It's a really finicky high performance machine. It's kind of like, you could have an amazing straight six in a classic German automobile, but that thing's constantly going to need attention and tuning, and it needs to be kind of babied with the right fuel and the right oil. And
you're reminding me of my Supra. My Toyota Supra was a straight six. But yeah.
Or then also, like for me, it was driving around in a classic beat up Saab. Man, that was in the shop like every other month.
Saab in Arabic means hard, like something that is very hard to do.
Like difficult?
Difficult, yeah.
Driving a Saab was phenomenal. Keeping it running, very difficult.
That was very Saab.
Very, very difficult. Very Saab. So it's learning a little extra language here. I do not feel Samsung in reducing costs in manufacturing their phone. They are not playing the OnePlus game as well as OnePlus can. This is not Samsung competing really well and OnePlus following in their footsteps. This is Samsung horning in on OnePlus's turf. This is what OnePlus does really well. And now I'm seeing performance numbers, consistent performance, graphics processing, gaming numbers that are all way better, much more consistent than what we saw on
cooler
PS21s.
Yeah, no.
And running not as stupid hot to the touch.
I was surprised. I was truly surprised, because when I saw the tweet from Pete Lau saying that we are running lower on their, I assumed it was like a PR thing, but no, consistently, like performance. Even when I was driving it for my samples and playing games and all that. Seriously, temps actually stayed very well. Now, obviously, it does get warm. I'm not saying it doesn't get warm. But it didn't reach the temp.
And it's definitely warmer than an 865, and it's definitely warmer than the 855 before that. Every chipset, I think, has kind of needed additional consideration. Samsung has not done the additional consideration for this generation of phone. Yeah. I'm seeing, especially with the most recent One UI update. I was talking with what's his name, Tech Odyssey, Adam,
yeah.
Like, he can't get more than 5 hours of screen on time on an S21 Ultra. Samsung has not done the work to make their phones cheaper and use this more high performance, finicky hardware. So I feel like we're in even better territory. Sorry, this was a really rambly way to get back to this. But now, having used the OnePlus, if there's any company I'm going to trust for managing power and managing thermals, I now feel like this is Sony's game to lose. I feel like this is Sony's year to drop the ball. It's up to them. They have to drop the ball to lose this year. Everything that I've seen from HS power control to better battery charging tech and that massive vapor chamber in the Xperia Pro.
Yeah, Pro. So that was a big surprise for me. Honestly, that was like, they didn't even mention it in the materials or anything. It was a total like out of the blue kind of thing that they. But I mean, I
I wish they
understand
would
why
have
they
told
did
us
it.
because I would
That
have actually tried to run it to like see
to
what
run
it was
the
doing.
exactly, that would have been well. I mean, actually, I obviously I can't run it. But it no no, but it totally makes sense though why you would do that, especially with the ultra wideband. Especially, I mean, I'm not
Oh
saying
yeah.
it's the 888, it's the 865, but still though, when you're streaming. So here's the last Saturday when I ran the stream in the car. I learned a lot out of doing a stream from a phone. My phone battery, okay, so the 888, just for reference, I was using the S21 Ultra. Um, my battery died. I had it at 100% by an hour and 45 minutes. I was literally down to 30%, and the phone was super crazy hot. Most
Mhm.
of it, and so just live streaming, obviously, the display was on. I wasn't in the sun. I made sure I wasn't sitting in the sun. So you guys, if you when you watch the show, I was somewhat in a shaded area, but enough of an exposure where the antennas weren't blocked by buildings, because T-Mobile is very finicky like that. And I wanted to make sure I had a good signal. And I knew that the S21 Ultra performed very well in that general area where I was by our mall in the area here. So I wanted to have that done. But like I at the end of the live stream, the reason why I kind of also ended the live stream short of 2 hours, I didn't think I was going to be able to make it. I kept my eye on the battery, and by the time I was getting to the end, literally at that 30%, I didn't want it
Mhm.
to be where the video ended with me not being able to
Yeah.
say what I wanted to say.
Right.
So I wrapped things up as well, and it was just a bad day. By the way, I tell you that I lost power and internet at the same time?
Yeah. I mean, again,
It
it was like
was
it was
just
a I'm sure it was a challenging day for your household. Absolutely the right day to go take the car out for a spin.
no, no, no. It would. So for everybody's little reference, so Juan was totally like, TK. This is the time to take out, do the live stream, try it out, and
Do
and and
it.
and for me, it was more like, honestly, I was gonna is start the video here, start the normal chat and everything, and then get into the car, and then maybe just show you guys the car a little bit. That was the intentional initially, what I was doing. And that just forced my hand, but it gave me literally 15 minutes before the show was starting to go figure out where to do it. So I went to the supercharging place to try to do it there. Internet sucked, like it was really bad.
Mhm.
So that wasn't going to work. So then I
Right.
had to go to the next best thing I knew, which was our mall has like impeccable. I think there's like a cell tower in the middle of the mall or something. Short answer, it was amazing. And it was me scrambling, running around 30 minutes late to start the show. But
Oh,
yeah.
I did find I did find my graphs. So this is gaming performance from the S21. Do you want to screen share this real
Yeah, yeah,
quick?
yeah, of course.
Here, let me move. Oh, no. Let me move this over here and then I'll screen
Oh
share.
yeah, and Aditya, totally. I actually drove with the live stream. We were doing a driving live stream at the end of the show. I I got in the car. Well, we were in the car at the end, and oh wow, look at that, pretty lines. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. So let me
Oh, no, this
are
is
you
better.
not
No, no.
switching? Switch.
Uh, oh, we can see it. It just is it. Maybe you just need to zoom.
All
I
right,
think this
hold
looks like
on.
a.
We're gonna bring up this screen one more time. And then okay. So this right here is a
Okay.
Galaxy S21. And it starts out at a ridiculously high frame rate when you're just going through your title at the very
Mm-hmm.
beginning. I'm playing the game Undead Horde, which is an awesome game, and it really taxes a phone because it's unit management. So as you
Mm-hmm.
kill enemies, you resurrect them, and then you have just tons and tons and tons of these little minions, and then more and more units are attacking your guys. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very challenging. This is over the course of 30 minutes. We go from like 90 frames per second and drop down to mid 30s. Like that's where we're really hovering as the game's going. We get these spikes and it looks really cool for a couple seconds when you're getting like 90 frames per second, and then it just crashes all over again. Why is this flipping? All right, let me just open these up manually then.
We'll do it. We'll do it live. We'll do it manual.
Right.
Okay.
So this is a OnePlus 8T, and we never spike as high. Like we never got to 90 frames per second. We start out at 60, but then after about a half hour, we're in the mid 40s. So it's
Yep.
doing 30% better than a
Yes.
Galaxy S21. Just to be snarky, I pulled up a Razer Phone 2,
Oh man.
and the Razer Phone 2 is hitting low 30s.
But it was
So,
consistent as heck, though.
but
Like, I
look at that. It's
mean,
like a table.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, look at that line.
The
There's
Razor
no.
Phone 2 didn't change for anything, and it was only 10% at its worst at the end of 30 minutes. It was only 10% behind
Mhm.
the Galaxy S21. And then we get to this is the OnePlus the OnePlus 9 Pro.
Okay. Wow,
And
look at that.
again, we get the title spike, 120 frames per second. That doesn't mean anything. 60
No.
frames per second, 60 frames per second. And these dips right here are
Yeah,
cutscenes and dialogue
I
sequences.
was about to say, yeah, you want to always keep in mind that the frame rate sometimes will change depending on what's going on. If it's a video that plays, it's going to adjust. Yeah, you're right.
And Undead Horde is a very Nintendo Switch kind of game. So especially when you see these like jank
Hmm.
spikes, it's because the camera is being removed from player control and they're
Hmm.
doing this like wraparound pan so that you can
Hmm.
do a close up for dialogue.
Yep.
But it just doesn't stop. It's just 60 frames per second the entire time we get to, I stopped the test at just before 30 minutes. And
Hmm.
I mean like that's one aspect of gaming. Um, there are so many other tests, doing batch photo processing, doing file compression, video rendering.
Oh yeah.
Power Director and video rendering took a win over the S21. It's just it's really frustrating because Samsung got in first. So they're getting like kind of the bulk mind share of the super cycle as people are upgrading their phones.
Yep.
But when you really put these phones to task, there's no way that shooting on the S21, I would have been able to pull off that 8K vlog that I did from the OnePlus 9.
I was actually
I
going to
would
say,
have
yeah.
needed to let it cool down more in between each of those shots. I did not stop.
Hmm.
Every time I change, and I purposely tried to change, so I was doing main camera and ultra wide, and then
Yep.
also changing position of the sun. So I'm front lit, side lit, back lit, and then also changing. There's different cloud cover. So
Yeah.
at one part, I'm trying to make sure I'm getting hard direct sun. I'm trying to get soft cloudy light. I every single setup, there was a reason why I changed the point on the camera, but every single one of those shots was back to back to back to back to back to back, and the
Hmm.
phone was warm, but it wasn't screaming hot to the touch. If I shoot a couple minutes of video on a Galaxy S21 in 4K 60,
Hmm.
it's over 100 degrees. I mean,
The temperatures that.
it just spikes, and you're like,
Yeah.
this, I can't trust that it's
Well,
going to
plus
keep
it's
this clip.
24. It's just 24p. It doesn't actually go up to 30, which is the other thing
Oh,
they want to.
I don't even mean going up to 8K. I mean, like,
Oh, okay,
I
sure.
couldn't finish some of my 8K samples. If you catch the full camera deep dive that I did
Hmm.
on the Galaxy S21,
Oh yeah, that last week
I
I
have
think.
a note in there about performance. Like, two of my 8K clips just got cut. There was no thermal warning. There was no like, oh, your phone needs to cool off, anything like that. It was really hot to the touch, and then the phone just ended the clip. And
Oh,
you're like, if I had been trying to do a walk and talk vlog where I'm pointing the rear camera at my face and I can't see what's going on the
you wouldn't
screen,
have
I
known.
wouldn't
Yeah,
have known.
it would have been lost clips. You thought you would have gotten it because the clip would have recorded and you would have seen it in the gallery. But unless you would have watched the whole thing, you wouldn't know that the last part didn't show up. It's one of the. It is frustrating.
It's really
And
frustrating.
a true test for me on the clip that which by the way, thank you for the inspiration. I do want to say that it is flat out me. Just I saw your clip and I'm like, what can I do with an 8K camera video? I don't
What
know.
could you do with an 8K camera video? What
Yeah,
subject would you really want to capture in 8K? I mean,
no idea. What could
your
I have?
son, yeah, I guess, maybe family, someone you love. Wait a
I got
minute.
I got too many pictures of them anyways. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
I think you've got a flashy new automobile.
that would love to be in 8K. So, surprisingly enough, I did have some problems with recording audio. So my problem was never with the phone. We shot. So there was
Mhm.
the outdoor parts that were not in the car all had a little bit of an audio problem because I was trying to use my wireless Go mic too, and some clips did record, some clips did not because for
Oh.
some reason I was having. So the thing about it is, like I know what the OnePlus accepts external audio if you have the right adapter. So it worked when I tested it at home, but when we were out at the parking lot, it was just not record audio. There was no audio coming through. So I said, you know
Mm.
what? That's not a problem. I got backup audio, right? I turned it on. I looked at the camera. I looked at the monitor, and I looked at the thing. They were both on, and I saw that it was recording, but for some reason it stopped at some point. So we lost the audio from the first clip, from the first
That's
portion.
fucked.
So we went back up on Monday morning, and my brother was helping me out, and I overnight I was thinking like, what can I do? So I ended up literally thinking, I was like, why not use the OnePlus 9 as the microphone? Audio sync at the beginning of the clip, right? And so we stand next to each other, and then we just step away. It's a long clip, and then I could just use the audio from the OnePlus 9, and it just totally worked out as a microphone. So
That's good.
you see me standing there holding it. I'm like, yep, it's a OnePlus 9. It's a microphone, and it sounds amazing. And I do have to give OnePlus a big credit though on the audio though. Audio processing with the video is crazy good. Like,
Who would have thought?
yeah, like any location I was standing there, like seriously, if you listen to the beginning bit before you find out that it was the phone, you would have thought I was wearing a mic.
And I am amazed that it seems to be an audio highlight that LG has failed to accomplish since the G8.
Yeah.
It pulls the frequencies of sound around human speech up above the background without completely destroying environmental noise.
Exactly.
Like there are clips, and like I'm listening through some of the raw footage that I shot for that vlog, and like birds are chirping and the wind is rustling the leaves, and on an LG that all sounds like that digitally garbled
Especially when you do
underwater.
the voice bokeh, yeah, a little bit on that, but I was very surprised and actually
I
pleasantly
was
very surprised.
shocked.
Yeah.
So I set up my Rode thinking like there's no way I'm going to be able to use the audio. There's a light breeze, like it's going to destroy the audio on these mics. And for capturing the environmental sound as well as it did, I like the sound of the phone better than having the lav mic like right under my throat, which is obviously going to sound more
It's
sort of
very
muddier and sort of so more hyper focused
It is
on my
hyper
voice.
exactly. You don't
I
get
don't sound
the
like
true
I'm in an
environmental.
environment. I
I
sound
was gonna
like,
say the
yeah,
environment. Yeah, you sound like you're in a studio, but you're like outside. So no, very much a surprise. And keeping in mind also that the 9 doesn't have as many microphones as the 9 Pro. And for me, honestly, I would have never known. Like when I used the clips at the end, all of the audio came from a OnePlus 9 or a OnePlus 9 Pro. So for me, it was like a perfect marriage of I want to showcase the 8K camera and I want to showcase my car and I want to do a walkthrough of the new revisions and whatever, all of that stuff. Plus, I learned one quick thing as I was ordering the car is that when you're waiting for the car, all you end up doing is watching Tesla Model 3 videos. Like seriously, I binge watched, I would say, all of the library of YouTube by the time my car showed up. So I felt like, why not make a video that A is a higher quality, B showcases the latest and greatest, and C showcases OnePlus. So yeah. Insert.
that's a good pick.
It was a good inspiration. So thank you very much for that little.
I'm so this is part of it though. It's like, you know, when we saw those initial videos go live on launch day, and people, I guess the camera's like a little bit better for a One Plus, I guess,
Yeah,
and you're like,
yeah.
I need more people to really use this phone,
They
and
need to, yeah.
it's so sad because it I haven't run into, okay, so again, it's there is no one winner. That there is no one phone or one phone camera that's good or the bestest at everything. For example, if you really want to produce content and you really want to have that fine, detailed, granular control, I think for interview style, vlog style, and YouTuber style, LG still wins. Like
Absolutely,
they're still the top. If
absolutely.
you want to tell a more cinematic narrative, Sony. You just
Hmm.
forget about it. The Sony camera app being able to rack focus, also having USB audio support. I
Oh,
just
yep.
realized that you have proper USB audio on the Sony Cinema Pro app.
Hmm.
It unbelievable. I mean, just fantastic. Those are different philosophies. If it's a newsier, you want the run and gun style of an LG. If you're
Hmm.
really going to set your shot, set your lighting, set control, and capture something with more of a narrative, it's Sony. And then in the third place, I would say probably Samsung. The Samsung Video Pro features have improved tremendously over these last couple generations.
I appreciate the fact that if the biggest thing that I appreciated with the upgrade to the video, the Pro mode video that they have is the Bluetooth audio integration into the camera app natively, and not having to actually switch over to a let's say open camera
Yeah.
or filmic or anything like that.
But then also like Sony, they're actually acknowledging that you might use USB audio too. That's a huge consideration that even LG hasn't.
So Sony, what I love about Sony with the Cinema Pro app is not only just USB audio, headphone jack audio. When we were using the Xperia Pro for our testing, you were using the headphone for audio input for live streaming. So there's a lot of flexibility going on with the with what Sony's offering us, and I love that. So that's why I'm really excited about what they're going to do with the Xperia 1 Mark III. But it's
but this is kind of what gets me back is like those are very specific kinds of conversations about content creation, about narrative, about news, blogging, stuff like that. If we're looking at kind of the core arguments being made by Apple and by most of the I only shoot full auto on my $1,200 phone crowd, I think OnePlus's game is one of the strongest right now.
The Hasselblad did a really good job with the color of science tuning on this.
And even when it's not like the Hasselblad Pro mode, OnePlus's HDR processing from where we were on the OnePlus 7s, which I thought looked kind of hyper fake.
I was gonna say, it was too
from OnePlus 7 to OnePlus 9. The 8, it was such a huge step in the right direction, and now it feels like they're refining a consistent vibe for their cameras. It's different than Apple, it's different than Samsung, but it's kind of like where we were with Huawei in the early days of their Leica partnership.
Oh yes, definitely.
The P9 was probably a little too edgy and contrasty, but then we ended up getting this consistent run of cameras that was just a generation ahead of what anyone else was doing.
P20 for sure is like a step in so much of I'm with you.
It's not that I think OnePlus is going to get there, but this is something different. This is so much better refined and consistent. And so now when I pick it up and I want that full auto HDR experience, I'm seriously putting OnePlus up against iPhones and Pixels. They're not the same, and they're going to have different pros and cons. But now we have a consistent OnePlus aesthetic from 8 Pro to 9 Pro. And that makes me more excited about where the camera division can go after that. This wouldn't be my top pick for someone who wants granular manual controls, especially over video. The Pro app has improved a lot, and I love that focus peaking is persistent. Like you can have focus peaking even when you're using autofocus, which is awesome, and I love that. But there are still some things that I think they need to clean up before I can recommend them at the same tier as like Sony for manual modes. It's just like now we've got these good options, and I'm watching YouTube videos of guys going like, oh, I guess it's like a little bit better, but like no one really does things with their phones. And you're like, it's killing me. I need more people actually pushing it because it's getting a lot better. It's getting really good.
They're definitely they're on the right path. Let's just say that much. And I'm really, really like the excitement level that I had with the 9 Pro, expecting what to get out of it was definitely met and then some. All of the improvements even that they did on the 9, which to me was a big win for me in the sense of they didn't really compromise much on the 9. If you think about it like that, from a generational upgrade, like the 7 to the 7 Pro or you go to 8 Pro, the 8 always felt like it was missing quite a bit. Like it was a different experience to a certain.
8 and the 8T feel like you probably could have just stuck with the 7T.
It was one of those like you didn't know it was coming up, but you see what they did. They went back to that formula that I loved. The 8 is the flat display. The 8 Pro, the 9 is the flat display, and the 9 Pro is the curved display, which is what they did with the 7 at series, which I think was the right decision. The 8 kind of blended where it was just literally a mini 8 Pro, but it didn't really get all the same thing because it kept the 7T camera optics, but you get 90 hertz, which is again the same thing.
And in a way, I feel like the 8 was a step back in a few areas, like especially like macro performance. I felt like the 8 was a step back from the 7T, but you got 5G. So
I'm not saying the 8 is not a good option to use.
I mean, it's a pretty fun. But what I mean is like going from OnePlus 7T to OnePlus 8 didn't feel. I did a video and it's on the Patreon, and
Mhm.
it's public. You can go and watch it even if you're not subscribed to the Patreon.
But
I
please
don't
do.
really feel I gave the OnePlus 8 a fair shot because I really went hard on the OnePlus 8 Pro.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that again with the OnePlus 9 Pro, but I'm gonna force myself. Like I am gonna cover the OnePlus 9 better than I did the OnePlus 8 because from OnePlus 7 to OnePlus 8 didn't feel like a tremendous upgrade.
It
It felt like the 5G upgrade, and it
so
was
from
kind of a lateral move for the phone. Going from OnePlus 8 to OnePlus 9
Mhm.
feels a lot more substantial
They
in terms of getting a
they
more
they
complete and well-rounded phone.
It was a very, I think it was a very good tactical approach, given it given it almost all of the features with a certain experience. I obviously expected, there was going to be things that were going to have to be kept to the Pro, but seriously, we got wireless charging, we got the fast wire charging, the same fast internal RAM, internal storage capacity for both of them, the same wide angle lens, the custom Sony sensor that they got in there, which to me was like a
Mhm.
big wow. So you get 8K, on both the wide angle and the standard focal length. You know what I mean? So those are things that I feel like the 9 is a much better, well-rounded story now. That when you want to recommend it, like, yeah, you may not be getting the Pro, but you're still getting literally like 90% of what you'd expect.
And in a way that I don't think OnePlus is getting enough credit. I
Yeah,
think they've built really solid S21 and S21 Plus competitors.
competitor. Oh, absolutely, hands down. From battery performance, and so here's the thing. Charging speeds, although crazy, because we are talking 65 watts charging speed, they charge both phones, by the way, charge in literally at 30 minutes from 0 to 100. Crazy. Not one phone went over 100 degrees on the temperatures when it was charging. Thermals while charging at that speed is crazy. Like,
That's insane.
seriously,
That's freakish. It's
this,
freakish
this,
to shove that much power into a battery. So it is also it's one of the reasons why I do keep a gut rot like 5 watt charger like handy if I need to charge overnight. I want it charging slow
yeah, so
trickle
consistent.
charge.
Um,
But I now have I have 3 of the 45-watt power delivery
oh, and
warp
so by the way,
chargers.
yeah. So that's what I was gonna say.
And like we've got them around the house. Like
Yeah.
all of this is like one of the best chargers you can get, and it actually tops off our Pixelbook. It tops off my Huawei laptop.
It's a
It
PD. It charges with
fast
power delivery,
charges
45 watts.
Marie's
Yeah,
phone. I mean, like, and that it's in the box. I mean,
exactly.
again, it just when you really look, it's like you can get a phone with 256 gigabytes of storage. It's got more RAM that you probably don't need because OnePlus was way too aggressive at killing background apps. But sure, it's got more RAM. The screens are great. The cameras are phenomenal. The sensors
Mhm.
are larger than what's on the Galaxy S21 and S21 Plus. It's got a charger in the box and a pre-installed screen protector. And you're like, that
Which, by
there's
the way, yeah,
any
Samsung did remove this year, which is another little,
right.
bit that I forgot that. Yeah.
Again, so to watch a bunch of techie chuckleheads like pat themselves on the back and be like, I guess it's better. It's just the alternative to a Galaxy, I suppose, if you were to shop something
Uh,
outside of a Galaxy. And just like it's like everything they can do to just not give them the credit to say these phones are proper competitors.
they're true.
S21 to OnePlus 9, S21 Plus to OnePlus 9 Pro. It's a tremendously good fight.
Mhm.
And that they can't acknowledge that without some kind of backhanded, I mean, I guess if that's the thing you're into, like trying to like, well, if you want a lesser than brand because they sell less units than Samsung, I guess you could shop for that. And it
I
just driving me crazy because like the more I tear into these phones, um, the more pleased I am with them as a potential upgrade path. If you were coming from a OnePlus 6T,
Oh,
this is
man.
an upgrade. And I
This
was really worried that it would be like Samsung, where the 888 would just cook your phone and you'd maybe be better off with a OnePlus 8 instead.
Yeah.
No, I'm feeling much stronger about this. Like if I want my mom to upgrade her OnePlus 6T, I feel like, okay, she would be in good shape if she decided to go with a OnePlus 9.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it'll be a massive improvement, but also it is truly like a very solid performance upgrade. And speaking of performance upgrade, actually, I feel like we have to talk about the one device that we both got a chance to play around with a little bit this
Yeah.
week. Perfectly done segue, I do have to say, very, very nicely.
Nailed it.
Perfectly
Segues are always better when you stop the show to explain how good the segue was. Because I mean, the segue was so smooth, they might have missed
they might have missed.
Because again, it takes a lot of skill to make it look that good. You're making it look easy, buddy. You're making it look easy.
Yeah, no. So the big announcement that happened okay, so let's just say this much. Xiaomi has been killing it. We're in the beginning of April, and absolutely, my friend. Where did I put mine?
So this is I was wrong. I thought my last Xiaomi was the OnePlus, the Mi, not the OnePlus.
I was going to say
God, so many nines right
now. Juan, do not do that. Do not say Xiaomi OnePlus. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. The Xiaomi OnePlus Oppo BBK.
What? BBK? Yeah.
No, I thought my last one was Mi 9. I went back and looked at my video. My last Xiaomi was a Mi 8. So I was a whole year off. This was a really nice phone to catch back up on.
It very, very surprising light, like extremely light build quality, but like massive battery, solid performance overall with the 732G. I was surprised. Like, I mean, as a chipset, it's I don't think a lot of people give it enough. It's very reflective though.
Oh yeah.
So I would have wished we had the unit that Isa gets. So I think I need to learn from Isa in the future. Whenever we are able to talk to them and say, look, send me whatever non-reflective material you have.
Let's see if I can get Vegeta.
Okay, so you got me. I was gonna say, yep, got Vegeta right there.
Vegeta.
Vegeta's giving you that look. He's like, "What are you doing, Kakarot?" Yeah,
I'm gonna punch Kakarot in the gut.
Dude, well, actually, no. Omar and I were playing Dragon Ball Fighter Z earlier this evening, so that was
nice.
That was a little bit of, but yeah. So
what's funny? Sorry, I'm going to derail this whole conversation for a second.
Absolutely.
My daughter has very specific likes in her fighting games. She does not like Street Fighter 5. She likes Street Fighter 4.
She likes the older mechanics.
She does not like how they changed up some of the moves. Chun-Li doesn't the kicks don't feel the same for how you have to button mash for her rapid fire kick. Yeah. No. Given the choice, now she's like, Daddy, I'd like to play the good Street Fighter. And she means Street Fighter 4. I couldn't be more proud of her.
No, dude. If she knows exactly the mechanics and the style that she likes to play, that tells you that that's a style that you're building an experience there. So
and I can't disagree because I feel like they wrecked Jury in Street Fighter 5. Like I do not like her delayed kick mechanics now. It's like this is now like turning a really great offensive character into a really lame defensive character. But I digress. Back to some smartphones here.
Back to some smarty phones that you can, if you'd like to download the Street Fighter games. And I'm just kidding. So for me, for the Mi 11. So just for reference, we all got. Which also, by the way, just we're going to geek out on Dragon Ball.
Nice.
MIUI video lock screen. I mean, outside of One UI, which I feel like it's one of my favorite features of One UI is literally the video lock screen. I think every single company should allow us to have video lock screen for everything. But MIUI has been doing it since MIUI 12, I think, that when it first came out on top of Android 10. So I love the basically just the overall performance. It runs very nicely. We have the 4G model, which apparently there's also. So that was the thing about Xiaomi. The reason why I meant to say that they were killing it this year. Snapdragon releases the 888. Xiaomi says, hold my beer. Mi 11 will be the first. And before the year was over, sure enough, they announced it. Snapdragon releases the 780. What does Xiaomi say?
First in line.
Hold my beer, Samsung. Here you go.
So let me ask you, because you've had a lot more experience with Xiaomi over the last couple of years than I have. I am still like trying to catch up on because this is the Mi 11 Lite.
Yes,
I always felt like they're more like nicer mid-range tier would have been more like Redmi.
Well, that's
and
true.
then
Xiaomi has a lot of. You have to
and then
keep in mind Xiaomi's brands
no,
are
I know.
very.
So like it feels like 5 different companies, but then
Yeah.
there's a lot of overlap with
And
different
there's the Poco.
features, chipsets. Well, and okay, so here's tell me if I'm off base here.
Sure.
In my video, I kind of mentioned this, and no one seemed to correct me, so I feel like I'm maybe on the right path.
Okay.
um, Poco to me seems to be more of a conversation about flagship killer performance. And
Absolutely.
that can come with some compromises like a thicker or a heavier body. You need a larger battery because there are, no compromises for really running the chipset hard.
Yeah.
Um, the Mi brand seems to be focused more on a nicer presentation.
Lifestyle, more, very
Like
much
and
more of
like
a lifestyle.
maybe if Josh is in the chat here, like I kind of feel like Josh would maybe lean a little more Poco and Issa would maybe lean a little more Mi 11. You know, like to me that seems to be where the split is, even when a number of the internal components are so similar.
It
That
it does it does that till you start hitting the 11 Pro and like whatever the new Ultra that we're going to start looking at
yeah,
hopefully when it comes out. Uh, the Absolutely. If you have to talk about like basically aesthetics part, totally right. Poco is very much
okay.
more in the hardcore gamer experience, very much
A
more.
bit of more enthusiast
Yeah,
focused phone,
totally,
and
totally.
enthusiasts seem to be fine compromising on some of the aesthetics and
And if you keep in mind the X3 NFC last year and the X3 Pro look literally the exact same. I mean, you wouldn't be able to
yeah,
tell the difference on the back, and the differences are minor on that side. And so I have the F3, which as we talked about it at the beginning, we have a lot of things that we haven't had a chance to. I got my unit a little bit late, and I've been literally bombarded with one after another. So the Mi 11 Lite for me came out before my Poco F3 came out. So I'm
right,
still working on the F3. Um, but I feel like when you get into the Pro or you get into the Ultra side of the Mi, it changes slightly backward into the more enthusiast level. They still
right,
have maybe good colors, but the design changes, the material changes. Last year's Mi 10 and Mi 10 Pro looked very nice in the sense of they had like that foggy glass on the back. It felt a lot like a OnePlus. I would say like the way the OnePlus 8 Pro kind of felt, like the
yeah.
material on the back, very nice. Uh, but I think the Mi 11 was very well designed phone. It looks really nice. It's a pretty phone, I would say, very much.
Mhm.
Uh, and what we saw with the Mi Ultra, 11 Ultra, that we saw all about, on the announcement day. So as you can see, very much an enthusiast, a very thick back camera. They're focusing again on the performance there, not so much on the aesthetics of making it look appealing to the eye. It's more about the rugged. You
I
drive that, and you get all
I
the
don't
things.
know. I mean, it kind of looks like a Nokia 808, right?
It
There's like a little
there's
retro to
a
it
there's a
too.
big retro I totally have a retro vibe for that thing.
But
Um,
to me, it's like Xiaomi doesn't have a Galaxy Note Ultra brand.
no, they don't have
So
anything
so
with
to me, it would
Note
kinda make
related.
sense that your Mi 11 is a premium tier device.
Yeah,
I mean, considering that this isn't gonna be crazy expensive, this is built to a
300
nicer degree than so
300
many of
euros
the
starting. Yeah, the model that we have starting at 300.
where
Serious.
it's taking clear shots at Nord, right?
Oh,
Like
ooh,
trying to make that nicer. So to me, it kind of generally makes sense that you would take the Me branding and move that up
mhm.
into your workhorse premium flagship crown jewel device. But it almost seems to me like Xiaomi could use a Lexus brand if that's what they're going to keep doing.
So that's where the meme. So the meme mix is supposed to be that experience that they were supposed. In the past, the meme mix was always that futuristic, the new cutting edge. They were doing the ceramic back material, and there was a whole bunch of things. I mean, meme mix seriously is like always their experimentation department, but they're always pushing the limit. And we saw the return of the meme mix. I mean, but unfortunately,
Mhm.
China only. But it was there was there's the approach there, and I think we saw the Mi 11, the Mi Alpha last year, the
Mhm.
wraparound display. So they have the experimentation department pushing out
Right.
hardware,
But
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 it's very much.
something different than, like, high concept or like a concept car, high
Mhm.
concept. They need something that kinda denotes, like, an actual consumer facing but premium luxury type of product, or premium workhorse, or productivity, or whatever it is that they're gonna go for.
It
And there
they
is a
need to
little
be
bit
able
of
to have
that,
that
like,
level. Yeah,
we're gonna have a crazy experiment in making this ginormous camera module on the back of the phone, but that is still a more accessible consumer facing product than like the full wraparound glass phone that
absolutely. And that
really didn't get like a real consumer launch in
it
any
no,
serious way.
it was very much a pure like a concept of anything, and very few people got their hands on to see it even, and it was mostly in China. So it was very much. And my chair, for some reason, is not acting up good today. I don't know what happened here. I'm having to readjust every few minutes. It pushes me back. So if you see me jump off at some point, that's because my chair doesn't want me. It's telling me it's done. No, no, seriously, it's doing a spring a little bit. So I'm like, okay. But sure, what I mean to say though is, I'm glad that we're able to both kind of experience the Mi
Yeah.
Lite, because last year I didn't get a chance to play with the Mi Lite, the Lite edition of the phone. I had the standard and the Pro, and those were just beasts of phones. I mean, just
I'm
this.
I'm actually kind of, this is going to be silly, and this has been a long conversation in the making,
Mhm.
where, like I said, I haven't played with the Xiaomi since the Mi 8.
Yeah.
Uh I'm actually kind of glad that I got in on their mid-ranger
Hmm.
Mi series phone. I think I would have been a little more anxious about jumping in on the Mi 11, for some of the same reasons why I've been critical of the S21. It's like, it's a phone that's
No,
been sort of hot. It was
pretty
the
pretty.
very first one to get out the door with the 888. It's going to take manufacturers a little time just to kind of figure out how to best support that chip. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying that anyone who bought a Mi 11 is like, oh, well, that's what you get for being early. You're not going to have a very good phone. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the price. What is it that Brandon says? Price to delight, or
Oh,
dollar to delight, or something like that, that
I
ratio that he likes to talk about for
I
pixels.
I forgot. Um,
Playing with something like this, knowing that it's gonna be sub $400,
mhm.
and that puts it right in that tier of TCLs, that Moto that I just played with,
Yep.
the Nord N10, the
Yep.
Pixel 4a, and it's this well polished, is just really exciting as an American, where a couple years ago, we had, like, no competition in this space at all. And now it's, I mean, or an iPhone SE in this place, when we're at that dollar tier and this phone feels this refined, and the compromises are, I mean, it's definitely got some compromises, but they don't
Yeah, yeah.
feel like tragic deal breakers for someone who would walk out the door with a $350 phone. It makes me really excited to see, like, that's where average consumers are. This is really nice if we're talking about kind of achieving that average consumer experience.
It is, and the one thing I would have so when I first saw the spec sheet, and I looked at it, it was like, okay, so I wasn't really 100% how it's going to perform, but with 6 gigs of RAM, honestly, I'm very surprised that MIUI ran so well, or runs so well on it, because I was expecting some hiccups. The Mi 11 had more, you could definitely see that it's definitely one of the heavier skins, but something with Android 11, that both, like, let's say Oppo or even Xiaomi, were able to do so much more improvements on their skins over Android, that they were able to fix a lot of the issues that a lot of people had in the, like, if you had a perception of, Color OS or One UI or MIUI or all of the UIs for the most part run smooth. There's no more issues. Android 11, for some reason and beyond, we've had a very good implementation of better RAM management. I mean, again, there's always going to be issues with background apps and so on, but that's just part of the UI.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, I feel like what they've done with the improvements, the feature set, their movie modes, their fun little movie modes that they had in the background right there, I felt like it was kind of nice. That little perspective zoom feature that they have, which typically would take a DSLR with a hand, adjustment,
Mhm.
just to kind of get that, field of view, just to, like, the whole background zooms in
Yeah.
around behind you. Um, I like it. Like I said,
I
I'm
I
excited to
mean,
see what they're going to do.
it's been driving me crazy just how rare the feature is on cameras. Like, the LG Wing did this really well, but
Mhm.
dual video recording.
Oh
Like
yes,
we had that back on the G2, LG G2. Like it shouldn't be that hard to put
it
on phones, and it's
and
on this little Xiaomi here, and like,
perfect.
oh, it and it does it really well.
It switches
It
like
looks
live
really
switching
good.
between exactly like going main, going sideways, and then you can also flick your display. You can move yourself around. All of that. The 732G actually is a quite capable. It's a gaming focused SoC realistically, but for our 7 series, it's great because it gives you that flexibility of getting a slightly higher refresh rate. You're able to get the performance on it. You're able to obviously support larger sensors. There was a whole bunch of things in there that I appreciate. Um, so short answer is yeah, I'm very happy that we got a chance to play with the Mi 11 Lite 4G model. I know Isa got a chance to play with the 5G model, which is the new 780. So the reason why I'm excited is because I have a feeling Pixel may go 780. I mean, if they don't go 870, they may go 780.
So
Eh.
here's like where all of this could get really really stirred up. I mean, we're seeing, like, well, what's the Pixel 5a
Oh
gonna
yeah.
gonna do? Um, there could be something really interesting there. Like if a 5a comes in, and from here on out, we just assume that all Pixels have 5G.
I
So
think I'm pretty sure from now on, yeah. There's
no,
no
but that's what I mean is, like, for 2020, we had the 4A, and then
Mhm.
we had the 4A 5G, and we had the
And then
5.
the 5. Yeah.
Well, the 5 it isn't called the 5G. So from 5 on, if we can just assume that they all have 5G, the Pixel 5, the Pixel 5a keep the same form factor as the 4a, but get the dual camera module,
Yeah, the new
and then
sensors.
maybe land the 780. And I feel like we've got a screaming great phone from Google at the ready. Like
Absolutely.
that to me is
It
a very compelling
That is
option.
an amazing recipe for success on that one. Absolutely. Especially because the 5A, I think a lot of people were because this is going to be the third generation, right? So they're going to be from the 3A to 4A, and then they hit it with the 5A and give you that sweet price point there. I think realistically, it was already hard to compete with the 4A. Let's just say that. The 4A was already a hard to compete device
Oh
with.
yeah.
4G LTE is still, for the most part, in most areas, when
Mhm.
you're talking comparably to sub 6 5G, very comparable. You're almost never going to be able to tell the difference. And
Yeah.
even then, most carriers are using 4G LTE upload as opposed to really full,
Yeah.
5G,
Right.
5G. So there's that whole switcheroo thing. But yeah, 5G going down there, getting a good solid 5G modem in there, with the X60 on that. I think the 780 is a great process. Plus, it also has the triple ISP processing in there, which also helps us a lot with what they can do with the camera sensors. So the
Yeah.
short answer, my hope essentially is because we haven't seen a lot of performance, a lot of testing on them. I'm hoping thermal issues is not an issue with these. I don't imagine them they would be, but I don't.
Well,
I'm
again, I
hoping.
think it's a generational shift. I think
Mhm.
if you built your frame of a phone
Yep. Oh,
around a
bounced again.
730,
This, uh,
bling,
this chair.
what we're gonna have
But
to
I
do is
sit.
get you a Velcro wall and see,
We're
like, how far we can throw you to, like, get stuck up there. Just
totally on episode 16. Tune in next week for TK being
ah,
thrown at the
we're
wall
gonna
and
bring back that terrible trend from, like, the early 2000s where you'd go to a Dave&
remember
Buster's and there'd be a Velcro
the
wall.
wall. Exactly. Exactly.
So
Sorry.
sorry, if you built your phone around a 730
Mhm.
and then you try and just cram in a 780, I'm fairly confident that is going to be a poorer performing phone.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what it felt like using the S21. It felt like we took an S20 FE,
Fee.
and we shoved in a finickier engine, and oh no, now we've just got to pre-throttle the phone out of the box so that
Mhm.
it can kind of function in a way that consumers might find reasonable.
Absolutely. Yeah. No,
If
I'm.
Google is taking into consideration generational and architectural changes to thermal load, and we end
Mhm.
up with something more like a OnePlus 9. I mean, the consideration, like, graphite pads,
Yeah.
copper, heat
Exactly. Better
pipes, vapor chambers, whatever it is that we need to
heat management
really,
needs to be a big focus in the design. Exactly.
then Google's going to be on point. And then I think we'll be in a good shape if Google sat out the 865, comes back with an 870, and And maybe also, if they resurrect anything, I would hope that they would resurrect their coprocessor that they had
Oh,
in the 4XL.
in the 4XL,
And that
exactly.
paired with an 870 would be insane. That would be an incredible performer. Like no other phone. I mean, still today, my
Mhm.
my benchmarks on the Pixel 4XL easily rival what you're doing with 888s. Like it's neck and neck for anything that involves chewing up image data.
The coprocessor, yeah, they definitely the
It was
architecture of
just
the
a
4XL
monster.
was a monster, and there's also another chipset on the market. I don't know if you've seen that. So Poco released the X3 the X3
Mhm.
Pro with
Oh,
the
yeah.
860, which is
Now,
in
isn't the
theory
A60
it's
an
an 850.
855
Yeah, it's
plus?
exactly. So the
Okay.
860 is the 865 plus, and the 870 is the 860. Wait, the 855 plus, and the 870 is the 865 plus.
55 plus plus.
So total number gaming, total rebranding.
So
But
here's the only thing I do hope. I'm not gonna be upset if Google decides not to do 888.
oh,
I
no,
do
absolutely. I think
kinda
keep the
hope.
price where it needs to be good.
But no, it's still like I'm expecting a premium phone. Like Gary the Fireman saying he wants the Pixel 6 XL. Like we want to get back
They
to a 6 and a 6
they they
XL.
they could totally, yeah, keep that in bring back the XL and put that 888 there if they
I
want.
do hope, and no, if they bounce the 888, I do hope that they'll go 870
I think it's a
because
much better
I
decision.
think
Yeah.
if they go 860, then we're kind of just still in the same ballpark we were from the 4XL, and we'd be
Well,
getting 5G ostensibly.
but no. So here's the problem with where I think, and I think maybe there's a little bit of a background in there. So there was only one device that was ever released with the 860, with the 855. I think that came with, or an 855 plus that came with a 5G modem, which was the X50 modem as a separate modem, which
Mhm.
was the OnePlus 7T Pro McLaren edition, one of the longest names ever. They released it at the end of the year. That was OnePlus's biggest thing. It was on
Right. But there
T-Mobile,
were
all that
other
good stuff.
855s with 5G.
They were, yeah, if we're referring to the Samsung, I think the one that you and I saw at the time, I think
Yeah.
that the LG,
And also
the
the
Sprint.
V50.
That is true. Well, that was the other one. I was going to say it was the
Yeah.
V50. Oh no, I
Now,
take that
you
back.
you could staple 5G onto an
They
855.
they
You
did it
should
on the
gotta be
855
able to do it to an
with the
860.
7 Pro. Sorry, totally. I'm late. Sorry about that. It's like as Juan
Well,
said, it's been a week, but yeah.
now, just like I also need this to be the, what is this? The life advice to anyone who's watching or listening to this. Don't occupy so much of your brain memorizing the specs that we have.
Yeah.
And we're even not that great at it, and we're still gonna be
We're
saying,
I'm just glad that we'll
Use
be
your
able to
brain
balance.
space." Like, remember family memories. Those are good too.
I don't know if I may be pushing some of those. No, I'm just kidding. I hope not. Hopefully not. No, what I meant to say is that battery performance was actually very much a big concern.
Oh, yeah, it was a major one.
It was the first generational approach to it. So obviously, I mean, if they go with the 860, I don't necessarily have a concern there. I feel like you said, the 70 is much better because we've seen how the 865 performed, even though it was a separate modem to an SoC. It wasn't built in the way 888 was.
I want a Pixel 6 that's gonna finally be a proper upgrade path over a Pixel 4, and I
That
think the only
doesn't
way to
that,
really
that
do
that you're
that
not
is
able to cook things
an
on the back if they decide not to. Yeah,
860. That doesn't get concerningly hot when you run it.
that's what I
I
meant. Yeah.
You can't do that with an 860, even if we're fine with the 5Gs, and I'm sure
Mhm.
there's been, performance optimizations and processing optimizations and fabrication, blah, 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 blah. I feel like Google optimization on an 865, even
Mhm.
in 2021, I'm good with that. Like, I think it's gonna be a screamer phone, hopefully comes in a little less expensive, maybe in sort of like the lower end of an S21 range of devices.
Mhm.
I think you've got a solid argument for what it is that Google can offer in that space. If it has an 888, that'd be kinda cool.
Oh,
I'd even
absolutely.
be kinda okay with, a Pixel 6 being smaller using the less hot chip.
Mhm.
So you use the 865 where I feel the thermals are easier to tame on the
Mhm.
smaller phone, And then with the larger phone, more surface area, better room for a vapor chamber, bigger battery, it will need the bigger battery. You could maybe make the argument for splitting the SoC. So
Yeah.
smaller phone gets the 870, bigger phone gets
So,
the 888.
which
That
makes
could work
perfect
for
sense.
me too.
Yeah, but that also will help people understand the price also when you start looking from a standard to an XL. Like you understand that it's not just a bigger battery and a bigger display. It truly is would be more of a different experience. So my hope essentially is what we heard last year is that where Google was very much focused on trying to make the Pixel experience affordable, make the Pixel experience much better,
Mhm.
tailored towards the price point that they felt like people would be more comfortable with it. We want that story to continue, and I feel like the 870 can help that story continue quite well. Um,
Oh, totally
and the
fine.
888, and if they do go with 6XL and they go with 888, then that's just literally like the icing on the cake. There, it gives you the choice to literally flex to the level that you want to flex.
Well, and it gets us back to a 4 device strategy that makes sense in my brain.
Yep.
I'd
No.
like having a Pixel 5a and maybe a Pixel 5a XL, and then
Hmm.
a Pixel 6 and a Pixel 6 XL, and that to me is a really easy um, collection of phones.
That was
In fact,
exactly
it's
what they
even more
yeah what they did
streamlined
2 years
than
ago.
what Apple would have to offer with SEs, iPhone 12s, last year's iPhones, 12 Pros. Like it would be nice if Google could just kind of say, here, we've got a more mainstream division. This is the core Pixel experience. You're going to be
Hmm.
doing great. And then anyone who wants a nicer trim package can move up to the Pixel 6 and get a little more horsepower, maybe some slightly better camera stuff. I don't know. We'll have to see if they ever decide to change the camera sensors on a Pixel.
Um,
Um,
I'm
so,
hoping they do. It's almost as much as I hope that OnePlus would change the front-facing sensor at some point. But that just
right? No,
yay.
so I doubt we'll see that change on an A series. And again,
Yeah,
I'm fine with an A series still having that 1/2.55-inch sensor.
yeah,
The
but they're
camera sensor
bringing
doesn't bother me at all
no, no.
for
What I
what
was
it
going
is.
to say is bringing in the wide-angle lens sensor from the 5XL, sorry, from the 4A XL,
But
perfectly fine.
if the Pixel 6 could just move up to the 12 megapixel Sony at 1/1 point, what is it? 1/1.7? Is that how big the sensor is?
I
It's essentially the same sensor that they use in the
so
iPhone 12 Pro Max.
yeah, it was yeah.
I want the faster autofocus, and I'm willing
Mhm.
to trade pixel binning for crazy sharp, razor fast autofocus because
And
I still
Google
think
post
the
processing.
Pixel has been the best at subject detection tracking.
Hmm.
So it's the thing I always miss when I put down a Pixel is when you tap on someone's face and you start moving the phone around, it just floats the focus,
To the
and
face.
it's amazing. And even through switching some modes, it'll still like, nope, you focused on this. We're gonna keep focusing on it until you tell me to stop. And you're like, this is so cool.
I like it. No, no, I definitely a very like I said, it's still early in the year, but if you were following Xiaomi's announcement and launch it, you would feel like it's already end of the year the way they've been releasing, which I'm very excited to see what they're doing.
It's ridiculous that in my brain it feels like 2021 is almost over and that it just began.
It
It doesn't
we're
feel like April. It
we
feels
just
like
literally it's the 1st of April and it does it's yeah, so let's just say that much. I think Xiaomi is going to go big this year. It's basically going for everybody at the end of the day if you
oh
think
yeah.
about it. And they're going to compete at every price level.
Do you think that they're gonna start trying to tap North America?
I feel like they're priming themselves for it because the reality, and this the third pop of the okay, I'm just going to leave it the way it is right now. I'm going to sit. I am not going to do anything because I don't want it to. No, seriously, if you see me just coming over, like it's, anyways. Um, I I really think their goal is to truly just yeah, at every level because you have to keep in mind it's not just Xiaomi. There's Poco, there is Redmi, there's you also have the all the other sub brands like Black Shark that's also just got
Shark.
released with the gaming, right? They literally
Yep.
compete in every market. Um, there's very little that I think they need to basically break in here. They've done it in the so just for reference, they do sell products on Amazon on in the
Mhm.
US. It's not like they don't exist. They're just not mainstreaming, trying to go into like the way Honor was doing at one point, right? Honor was trying to go very big in the US.
Yeah.
They were selling like hotcakes at some point, also in like during Black Fridays and so on. uh, I didn't think there's anything stopping them realistically, other than their own maybe ambitions. I think they're focusing very heavily on Europe. They're doing a good job there.
Well, I think
uh,
they've kind of again, this is one of the things where it's still a bit of a culture shock whenever I pick up a Xiaomi, and so much of my setup process, like I kind of just like I want to see what Xiaomi actually has to offer. And of course, now everyone in my comments is like, "Oh no, you should never agree to that. And you need to sign out of this, and you shouldn't let that track you." And blah 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 blah. I mean, I kind of needed to just see like what does that look like, and then I go to install an app, and it does
it's
the protection
scanning
scan, and then it serves an ad.
in the protection scan. Yeah, that's one of the
And
first
you're
things
like,
I disable.
great,
I've gotten better at it.
awesome.
I can tell you right now. There's like a
So
certain level
I'm
of
I'm I'm starting to draw my little flow chart of how to get around MIUI and not like trigger every single behavioral tracking advertising.
what they've promised us with MIUI 12.5 was a higher level of control on the user side to also even be able to remove some of
So
these.
very, very clear.
Yeah.
And I feel like a part of this is also recognizing uh, some of the different monetization and some of the different regional flavors.
Hmm.
This feels from my previous experiences years back on a Xiaomi, this feels better refined for a more Western audience that's probably going to
Hmm.
be relying on Google services a little bit heavier than like Xiaomi's in other target markets that
Oh,
have more
absolutely,
software
absolutely. Uh,
software stores.
Asian
So
versions
I
of this.
feel like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, oh especially from like the Chinese versions of these phones,
Hmm.
and all that. But it's to me, like, especially after when they kind of scored a victory in that court case,
Hmm.
where Xiaomi was put on the United States, concerning entities list for doing business with the Chinese military. When that came back and was such a brutal sort of
Reversal.
rebuttal from the
Yeah.
judge, saying like this absolutely feels punitive that they're coming after you without good evidence to support their claim. It seemed like that was right around the time that we saw a serious ramp up in Xiaomi PR kind of reaching out to other regions, answering an email from me. Like this is like a company that has
That
refused
was that
to
was
reply to my messages for so long. It's
I'm very happy that you're able to work with them, and like I
no,
said,
but I mean, like
getting
that
things
would be
through.
an exciting brand to start getting access to, and not just in the United States, like over all of North America. Like
Yeah, yeah.
this is hardware that I think would score really well in Canada. This is a premium tier experience that I think would do well in Mexico.
Hmm.
I know they've already like they've got good, strong inroads throughout South America, and you can buy Xiaomi a little easier for Mexican carriers than you can.
Hmm.
But like once you open up that supply chain, going through the United States and popularizing, north of there, the entire flow just gets easier for maintenance, for tech support, for
Hmm.
consumer
So
issues.
exactly.
Advertising opens up a little bit
Hmm.
more money flows in, the products get a little bit more higher visibility. Maybe they pick up a carrier contract.
Yep.
It wouldn't be hard to now follow in the footsteps of OnePlus.
I think OnePlus
And
did a great job setting just kind of like a path for
one
everybody.
where
That's
Huawei fell apart, they were supposed to go to AT&T with the Mate 10, and
Dude,
that
I remember that CES event. We
killed
were
me.
all sitting there waiting for the thing, and then I don't know, was like hours or so before the show, they
Pulled
switched
it.
it around. Yeah, no, it was like crazy because it was so exciting for me. Honestly, at that
It
point, I
was
was
going to be
so
in Best Buys, and then it got ganked. And
and
that
and
phone
and
was
and
so good.
they already made the hardware with the AT&T logos on them. Everything was right there. It was like, and yeah. So for me, kudos for OnePlus for the journey that where they are now, from where they started and what they represent now. But I feel
Now I
like
want
I said,
Now
no,
I want more competition.
but
If I'm gonna
I
lose
think
a couple of my favorite brands, I want other brands to step up.
this is the year, though. I really feel like Xiaomi's basically putting out all the signs, say, check me out, watch out, I'm coming. They're hitting every note, and so far I'm very excited with what we've seen, and I can't wait to see what else they offer. And I also want to see a little bit more about that Mi Mix, the new Mi Mix folding version of the Mi Mix that they brought back. That one folds in one hand. I was like very skeptical when I saw that. I saw a Twitter video for one of their PR people, and she was able to close it with one hand, like open and like, how did? So I'm wanting to see more. Like I
Can you
want
hear
to
the
find
sound
out.
you just made? How do?
Well, no, it's because I've used the Fold before, and the way she was putting her finger inside of the display, I felt
Yeah.
like with a Samsung device that is like a total no-no. Like you just literally dented the display. You might as well throw it away. So, but
Well,
it didn't
yeah,
look like it
that's
had any like it
hey,
didn't have any problem.
that's a Samsung though.
That's
Obviously, another manufacturer that would be able to solve that problem.
yeah.
It's you're
I
worried
well,
about
it's a generational
Samsung
upgrade.
makes subpar devices that only filthy casuals would want to own. I
I
totally get it. I mean, I totally
I should
understand.
sell my Z Fold 2 though. I don't know why I still have it. I think
Actually, I'm going to be really curious. I feel I know I'm being really obnoxiously snarky about some of this stuff, but the thing that I'm going to be really concerned to watch as we play out 2021, there's a group of our tech community that is very hyper focused on like resale value.
Mm-hmm.
My family, we have always been the folks like you buy a product and then you run it into the ground and you try and keep it running for as long as you can. Like my mom had like a 20-year-old Toyota Camry before she
Mm.
got her Tesla. Like we don't there's no such thing as resale value. Like we don't resell anything.
You buy it for good.
We
Yeah.
use it until we extract every single penny of potential operation out of that product as we can.
I feel like you guys like to use the till death do us part very
We take that very literally, even with the most minor of
yeah.
equipment purchases that we make. So here's the problem that I've got is from S20 to S21, I
Mhm.
actually think in the long term, Samsung has done a disservice to their own label and
Mhm.
has devalued their own product line. And I wonder how that's going to play out for like the used market, the secondhand market, the refurb market
Mhm.
for, like from Note 20 Ultra to Fold 2. If they've got aggressive trade-ins, it's just going to tank the perceived value of all of those phones.
And
In the
it
short term,
yeah.
consumers get maybe a nicer buy. They can buy a little bit more phone than they might have otherwise planned on, but
Mhm.
it's a Walmart strategy. It's not a good long-term premium strategy. So you just seed that ground to Apple. Well, if you want a premium, nice, expensive phone, you buy an iPhone. I mean, if you want to get a good deal, you go and you get yourself a Samsung and trade in a phone and get a carrier deal and a BOGO, and it's like $200 and a half a ham sandwich. But that
Exactly.
doesn't make the phone nice in the
No, but
eyes.
that's a great ham sandwich.
No, you have to give them the ham
Oh,
sandwich.
then I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's
I'm
part of
sorry.
your trade-in. You've got to give something up. You
I,
can't just get
I
a good
thought it was
deal on the phone.
it's
You have to give them
200
something
and a half a
first.
half sandwich. Okay. Well, I think the strategy though, you're right. Resale value, I feel like it's
Well,
very like I can already
it's a
see
very
that with the Z Fold
precious
2. When I
metric,
looked at
right?
it last, yeah, it already dropped a lot more than I was a lot more than I was comfortable with. Like when I saw it, I was like, I almost tempted like, maybe it's not even worth selling at this point. Although at the end of the day, you're right. I The reason why I kept it for such a long time mostly was because of potentially I'm anticipating Samsung offering a better resale value for trading it in for the Z Fold 3.
Yeah.
But what happened is okay. So honestly, after having the Fold for an extended amount of time, the first Fold I ended up doing a buy and sell after a couple of months. So it wasn't
Mhm.
one of those where I kept for a long time as a daily
Right.
driver. I kept the Z Fold 2 because I truly felt like Samsung did a much better job at it.
Oh, I mean,
Uh,
it is uh,
it's what we should have had in the first place. Let's just say that.
significantly more refined.
Uh,
Absolutely.
but there is a certain point though where the folding part becomes not as useful anymore. I don't know how to explain it. Like I found myself less and less opening the bigger display and literally just enjoying the front display because they finally gave me the display that I wanted, a full size
Mhm.
display. Now, mind you, it's even thinner than Sony's,
But it's not that silly porthole window that the first one.
Absolutely, that the joke of a display that they did at the first
Progress
one.
definitely deserved kudos where
And
kudos are deserved.
you know, but I found myself going back to just being excited about standard phones, like regular phones, regular glowing rectangles, like the better way to plug in the subreddit for Juan Carlos's channels, and make sure if you haven't
So,
checked it out yet.
Josh, you totally were saying this when it came out, and this is also where I'd maybe also point to someone like Tech Alter. I kind of feel if you're gonna make folding or dual display or a tablet that folds into a mini phone, I kind of think the Duo is the better form factor for
Mhm.
that.
No, no,
If you took a Z Fold, in the way that it kind of opens clamshell, and you turned it 90 degrees and you put the hinge that
the other
way,
way, yeah,
I think you end up with far more functional screens, a better functional screen on the outside,
yeah.
and then the division and how you can like split screen and move apps around more like a Duo is also more practical, and I think you would be more inclined to use that
It was
because
the
even
yeah.
having just the full 20 by 9 displays on my V60, I find eminently more usable than having one really, really skinny screen and
Mhm.
one really awkwardly square screen.
Yeah.
In terms of practical, and then also, I mean, you just flip the other screen all the way around, and you have like a normal 20 by 9 phone. It's just kind of chunky. It's just, I understand why Samsung is sticking with the form factor that they are.
Yeah.
I really
And
don't think it's the more practical shape for a
uh,
square mini tablet.
but sadly, though, other companies are copying it now, which is the weird
Oh,
decision that, so we see Huawei going the same way. We saw Xiaomi going the same direction. What I feel like this is the thing as a smartphone user, the thickness of the phone is what got me at the end of the day. It was just literally that whole having to hold a phone that literally is two phones smashed on top of each
mhm.
other, the thickness level. So this is where I feel like Huawei did a little better job. They went more of a flatter. It's much more
Yeah.
tapered. Like it's not as thick. But at the end of the day, realistically, and Josh obviously did initially say that the excitement that I had took a few
Oh,
months.
don't give Josh too much credit.
I
He knows
well,
he's great. You don't need to keep telling him he's
I,
awesome.
it truly. I mean, we were walking at I forgot the name of the garden that we were in. That we were hanging out at one point, and he was doing his hands on with all of that. Um, it's an exciting phone. It's definitely very much cutting edge. I feel like at the end of the day, though, I felt like more excited when I used it as the daily.
Mhm.
And having to keep cleaning it all the time, making sure that dust is sitting in there. There's the whole care kind
Mhm.
of aspect that kind of goes in. I feel like if I want to be taking care of something that is very, that I want to enjoy all the time, I would like to do something like that to a car. I do take care of the car, and that's some things I want to do.
It's just like some Ferris Bueller dialogue. Like he just sits around all day staring at it and wiping it with a diaper.
Exactly. It's like to me it was more of the I feel like at the end of the day, like I said, it's a great device from what it offered. And it has some functional options. I think One UI it definitely does a much better job utilizing the space that you have in there with the three app functions and so on. But yeah, to a certain point, when we have 6.8-inch displays, 6.7-inch displays that are QHD 120 or 165 or whatever, all of the
Yeah,
things that are coming up
I
now.
gotta say, I definitely, because my SIM card is in the OnePlus 9 Pro right
Yeah.
now.
Say,
That's my daily driver. Whatever value you want to put on a tech nerd like me saying that's the phone I've got connected to my smartwatch right now. I
Speaking of
critically
which, how
miss.
do you like your watch? Have you been rocking the T-Rex pretty
Oh,
good?
so I've been moving back and forth. So I
Okay,
just got my A roll for the video on the T-Rex,
yeah.
and it might be too much watch for me, but I absolutely adore what Amazfit has done at this price point.
Mhm.
Is stunning. But
Absolutely.
sorry, real
Yeah.
quick, just to kind of wrap up this thing on phones, and that way we don't have to make our podcast 3 hours long. The thing I critically miss while I'm walking around with the OnePlus 9 Pro was how deep I'd gotten into multitasking.
Mhm.
And I mean, like, it was just normal after a point where I'd have 3 apps going all the time. on my V60, and I miss the put it down convenience.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm watching a video on one screen and I can just put it down and prop up a display. And now I'm having to do that thing where it's like, even when I'm I'll do like a video in the top quarter, and then I'll keep a second app down below, and then I gotta like kind of like prop it up somewhere, or like I need to shop a case with a kickstand or something. I can't really just use it like the V60 was this perfect little pocket computer. The Duo is
Oh,
always in
absolutely.
the right shape for
Yep.
wherever I need to put it or handle it or use it. And I do miss going back to a slab, a glowing rectangle, as you so lovingly put it. I it it doesn't fit in as many places as the
It.
V60 could. And so that to me is the thing. Like I really do miss like having dual display. The main screen on a Fold 2 isn't great for a lot of things,
Mhm.
but it is good for multitasking. And
Absolutely.
now I have gotten into that bad habit where 2 apps at a time on the OnePlus 9 Pro is good. I miss 3. I miss having 3 apps working all at the same time. I
You
miss
you
having,
you
like, Discord up on one, my Reddit in, like, a shrunk
there's
window,
just
a
no
video
pleasing you, man. There's
playing.
just no pleasing you. Yeah, you know what you
It was
need?
good. It was and then, like, you wanted to get really silly, I would take my Wing and then plug that into a Next dock. Like, I've got 3 apps going on my Wing and a
And then you
full
get the desktop
computer.
experience. And I think so to me, yeah, like you said, kickstand and setting it up. And I think multitasking is a big factor. We really need to be truly driving our devices. Don't give me laptop processing power and all I want to do is, just open up Instagram or Twitter and
Yeah,
whatever.
but I mean, like, I think we're in good company here, where
Oh,
if
no, no.
someone is looking at buying over a $600 phone, that they're probably at least considering over $600 worth of use. So I'm not too worried about anyone here being, oh, but what about average consumers that are buying $1,000 phones and then not doing anything on them?
And
What about
shooting auto
those people? Shouldn't
and
be we be
shooting HDR. Yeah, auto everything. Yep.
or they're shooting 1080p video under full auto controls. I mean, shouldn't we be concerned about the experience they're going to have? And you're like, no, I don't
It's one of
care
those
about
things
that.
you have to pay attention, Ron. You have to cover everybody, even your average guy, your average some hashtag
Some average gadget guy, something like that.
yeah, some average I think that's if we wait for Aditya, he'll throw that in there
No, so I
sometime.
mean, like, again, I mean, like, I know we've been kind of silly, kind of making fun of some of those review trends, but like,
Yeah.
anything you can do to point your family and friends at products that beautifully achieve that use. I can't tell you how happy Marie has been on the Pixel 4a 5G.
So glad.
She hasn't like fretted over it not having the right IP certification, and it's gotten splashed. We have an active Tasmanian devil of a toddler. The cameras are easier for her to use than what she had on her G7,
Mhm.
so she is a step up there. She has commented. I think she's noticed that the some totally an average consumer guy. She has noticed that her headphones don't seem to be driven as well on
I
the 4A 5G over where she was on the G7, but the battery life has been a huge upgrade. And
Mhm.
so the more I get into it, it's like none of these average consumers that we're so preciously defending, none of them are really asking for more processing. None of them are really asking for crazy off the wall AI features and
Yeah, that's true.
brute force heavy lifting and GPUs that can run console quality games with ray tracing and stuff.
I
But you tell them,
DLSS was good.
no, I'm serious.
No, no,
Like,
I know, no, but it was like
it would be nice. We would care about that,
I
but we're
totally.
not average. And so like, if you tell them like, hey, you could pick up a Pixel and it's going to be like a third the price, of one of these premium tier phones, keep you at the same level from where you were on your old phone, but it'll be newer, it'll be fresher, new software, a fresh battery, a nicer screen probably than the older phone that you were running.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is so much more of a benefit than these like, oh, but you need to have bigger benchmark. You need to have the top of the line processor. Yeah, what about this 108 megapixel camera? None of them, they don't care about that.
That's true.
But you tell them like, hey, you can almost get 2 days of runtime out of this, where your old phone is probably struggling to last a day. And man, perked up. She is so stoked about that. And now for
Absolutely.
like all of my family, they're playing the cheaper game. How much more phone can we get at a lower price than what we paid for our last phone?
Which
And
I think it's the truly, yeah, that's the get the phone that fits the needs that you need, that you want,
and
and that
so
you
like
need
I'm
them.
keeping the processing power the same,
Yeah,
but my wallet is $100 happier than where it was 2 years ago.
exactly, exactly. No, no, I think it's the right approach. I feel like that's the right approach, and I feel like more people just need to just look around and see what we have to, what other companies have to offer. Pixel is in stores. I mean, it does work with carriers, so that's the other thing. T-Mobile's actually doing a little bit more on bringing them in. So again, it's Google's play to basically just meet up what they did, what they set up last year. Last year they set the stage. They saw how well it worked, and if anything says work for whatever worked for you, Google should just follow what they did. And like I
Mhm.
said, tailor the experience. So hopefully it shouldn't be too much longer actually for the 5A to be announced, if I'm not mistaken. I think IO is what,
It should be
another
coming up.
less than a
But
month or so, roughly.
but again, I mean, like, and I'm kind of pointing back to this because of just like how nice this was
It
using
is.
the Mi 11 Lite, how nice it was playing with the Moto Ace. Like that Moto
Yeah.
Ace was a solid phone, 5,000 milliamp hour battery on this mid-ranger chipset.
Xiaomi's
So
been doing it also very well though. Smaller devices, thin device. I mean, this one was like almost 4,000, but then like when you go to Poco and so on, 5,000 is literally almost the standard. Like their levels are so much more. Like they know you're going to need a battery that lasts you forever. Like, and they do that. They put that in. So yeah,
I feel like that's the way that we need to change up our conversation on perceived value, because I want us to still have ultra premium super workhorse, but make them niche. And I
yeah.
understand that I'll probably need to pay more, but make
Mhm.
fewer of them hard targeted. Don't try and whittle back on features so that
I
you can kind
saw.
of cut prices in some places. Like give me a balls to the wall true workhorse diesel truck of a phone and let me go to town on it. And I'm the guy who will spend more on that, but with the expectation that like there aren't going to be a ton of me. So I do need to pay more because they're just not going to make as many of them.
Exactly, and hopefully we'll. My hope essentially is that the rest of the year, although it feels like it's not that much, but we still have technically 9 months to go.
Oh,
This is
so
it's a tough story, but yeah. So yeah, truly, I mean, I know we're almost at the 2 hours. I definitely appreciate
we should probably
everybody.
start wrapping
Yeah,
this
I think I want to say first and foremost, obviously, it has definitely been an interesting week, busy on both ends, day
It's been
job
a
as
good
well
week.
as YouTube and stuff like that. But you know what? It's exciting stuff. It teaches us different experiences in life, and it helps us hopefully improve ourselves and improve ourselves for the next edition. Like I said, I've enjoyed the pieces of tech that I've been able to push out. I've been able to enjoy those type of content, and I want to be able to do more on that. And I hopefully will hear more about Snapdragon sound and more Me story, Me 11, Me 11. We'll see. Um, and so, with that being said, I do want to say first and foremost, thank you to everybody in the chat. Aditya, always rocking it like a boss, as usual. Gary the fireman, kicking it with us. Of course, we can't forget Joshua Vergara, the man, the myth, the legend, available on YouTube, Telegram, and Twitter. I don't know why he's putting that in there. Just kidding. There was a little bit of an ad there. Yeah,
We've got Oliver, JGJ,
Oliver, Roland,
we had
Ronald
Michael
Sims.
Corcoran popped in for a bit. Of course, Jeff El Jefe
Oh,
review.
of course, yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
Again, if
Our
you
West
love your
Coast bud,
ears, you should follow Jeff.
always.
Absolutely.
And Greg also. Oh, by the way, Greg mentioned earlier that he's still rocking the Mi 8 with I think it was Excalibur ROM. Still getting updates on it, so it's definitely
That's pretty rad.
custom ROMing. So uh, thank you again to you, Juan, for hanging out, kicking it. We're keeping it. We're on episode 15. I can't believe we already hit 1.5 at this point. We're almost adults. Three more episodes, and we make it into adulthood. We'll make it happen. But take care, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. Be safe. Be kind to each other. Take care of yourselves, and of course, see us next week on another episode of the Best of Our Week. We have the live stream as usual on Saturday on my channel, as well as across the podcast with Sam and Matt on Sunday, and back to the SGGQA next Monday with your man Juan Carlos. We'll see you guys again next week. Take care. Good night, good morning, and good day.